It's now time for Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire. It's the only daily boxing talk show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
Live from the Billy C Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Caligiuri. It's time for the Billy C Show. Good morning, good day, good evening. Whenever you listen, whenever you're watching, I hope you're doing okay. Today's show is being brought to you in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant located on St. Simon's Island in Georgia. Check out the website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com, or give my man a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. Find out why I go all the way to St. Simon's to get a authentic Italian meal. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by my book, Tom Molino, From Bondage, The Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold, and you can get a copy of this book while you're watching or listening to the show. Just visit Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com. Find out why I'm so adamant about getting this guy's story told. It's a great read. It's a quick read. So get yourself a copy today. And don't forget, because of my own stupidity, we got a special going on only till the end of the month. And the end of the month is pretty quick, fastly approaching. So if you email me, Billy at TalkinBoxing, that's TalkinBoxing.com, I'll send you a book. As long as you're in the United States, anywhere in the U.S., for $20, and I'll sign it too. So you only got about a week or so left on that deal. But anyway, coming up a little bit later, we got Dax Khan scheduled to join us. He will be giving us his thoughts on the World Boxing Super Series that took place. We have some news to talk about and a bunch of fight results. I was ringside for the HBO event on Saturday up at the Turning Stone Resort and Casino in Verona, New York. What a great facility that is. And if you haven't seen a fight up there, if you haven't visited the Turning Stone, you should definitely put it on your schedule. It's a great place to not only watch fights, but to visit. Beautiful arena there, and the facility itself. The food and all the restaurants are good, and of course I know that, right? And I tell you, the grounds are really nice. I'll be honest, when the Turning Stone first opened like 25 years ago, maybe even longer now, I said I'd never go back there. It was just, the atmosphere just wasn't, I don't like atmospheres where it's depressing, where it looks like people are gambling their last $10, and then all depressed that they lost it. But it's totally changed. I mean, it's upscale. Everything is great. The people are fantastic. Definitely check it out. So anyway, I'll be getting to the fight results in a minute. But joining me right now from St. Simon's Island in Georgia,
It should have. Well, I was venting too.
Well, I was no, you were. I didn't want you to prevent my venting, okay? But I had bought this old truck, and I only need to run back and forth to. I'm not going to mention them because they don't pay us, but back and forth to, like a home place where you get construction supplies, doing some fixing up around the old homestead, et cetera, and rather than just go buy a truck, a good one. I had this illusion that, or it's become a delusion, but that I wanted to drive an old truck and have it restored and stuff. So it'd be a little cool because it's not like I have to use this vehicle all the time. Well, first thing, I had to replace a heater core. And I'm not mechanically inclined, Sal. Right. But I replaced this heater core, and I put it in. I start the truck up, no leaks, everything's great. You'd think it's a home run. Sure. Wrong. Now the truck won't run right. I mean, it's like just not idling, and I'm like, what the hell? It should have nothing to do with that. I don't know if it was a coincidence, if I ruined something when I had to rip that thing out. I don't know, man. Now I'm just second guessing. Maybe I should have just went and bought a much later model than a 30-year-old truck.
You get. They have.
I fixed
a little heat.
I fixed the heater.
The heater core.
Listen, the heater core. We're talking auto repair here with Billy C. But the heater core is a really hard, pain in the ass kind of a job for any car. But back in 1985 when they built this truck, it wasn't as bad as some of them. I mean, sometimes you got to take the fender off. You got to do all this crazy stuff. I didn't have to do that. It was still an all-day event, but I put it all back together, and I started up the truck, and it wouldn't idle, which this thing, you turn the key, you didn't even have to hit the gas or anything. You turn the key, and it just started right up. It purred like a kitten. Now it's purring like well, let me just say this: it's
roaring like a lion.
Yeah, it's no kitten, I'll tell you that. But anyway, let's get to some boxing talk. This past weekend, I had the luxury of being ringside at the Turning Stone for the HBO fight. And in the featherweight division, Alberto Machado improved to 19-0 with 16 knockouts when he scored an 8th-round knockout over Jezreel Corrales, who loses the second time in his career. He's now 22-2 with 8 knockouts. Machado claimed the regular old super featherweight title, and that was because it was considered vacant. And the reason why it was vacant was because of one of your pet peeves, Sal. Jezreel Corrales did not make weight. He came in 3.5 pounds or 3.25 pounds over, and he ultimately lost that title on the scale, which gave Machado the opportunity to win it. It didn't look like that was going to happen. As I was watching the fight, Corrales was dominating the fight big time. As a matter of fact, in the 5th round, he dropped Machado, and I thought it was almost over at that point. But then in the 8th round, Machado, it was actually the 7th round that Machado really hurt Corrales and almost had him down. As a matter of fact, you could have said that the ropes had kept him up at one point. And Machado had come on in the previous round, too, after he was dropped in the fifth. On my scorecard, which I'm looking at now that I was scoring ringside, I had given Machado the 6th and 7th round. And then in the 8th round, he landed a crushing shot that knocked out Corrales. A lot of people ringside thought that the referee, Mark Nelson, who I think is one of the worst referees that have ever been issued a referee's license, stopped the fight. And people were going crazy. The official time was 2 minutes and 15 seconds. But to tell you the truth, they had to help Machado to his corner, and he was out on his feet. He was in some trouble. Did you get to see the fight, and what was your thoughts?
Oh, yeah, I saw the whole fight. And twisted his head, and he went down. It was a hard hit, and I think Morales came back with a right that just cuffed him a little bit on top of the head. Not to take too much away, but he went down. He barely got up by the 10 count. When I first saw it, Bill, I thought maybe the referee could have said, "Hey, are you all right? Do you want to continue?" But you and I weren't there. Well, you were there. I'm sorry, Bill. I don't know what you and the referee are seeing, but the referee sees the best, and he knows the fighters, what they're acting like and how they're behaving. And maybe he saw that, hey, maybe his eyes are rolling, they're dilated, and that's a sign of a concussion. And he said, you know what, this guy's had enough for tonight. I don't know. Otherwise, I thought he should have maybe let him continue, at least to see if he can stay on his feet or recover from that. But I think he was worried too much about what color hair he was going to fight with that night than he was even making the weight. So that right there just turns me off from a fighter.
Yeah, I know that that gets you goat for sure, and I don't blame you at all. I can't stand it.
He's a professional.
And you know what? I was talking about that on Saturday night with several people ringside, and you know what the truth is? If these guys are, and we see it a lot now. I mean, it's rampant in the sport of boxing that guys don't make weight, and you know when the title. What makes me laugh is when they're trying to achieve a title. You know, they're critical of people like myself who's critical of all the titles. Right? They all want the title. Oh no, you're wrong. You know, the title still has value. Until they lose it on the scale. Then all of a sudden it's like, well, I really didn't care. I mean, that title didn't mean nothing to me, blah, 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 blah. You know, and I think if they had the same weigh-ins on the same day, if they have the same day weigh-ins, Sal, I think it would eliminate a lot of that because I think we would end up with a true representation of the weight classes. What do you think?
Well, of course it would. It should. I mean, that's what I've always professed. And you know, Bill, I just, these fighters, I don't understand. They're paid professionals. There's not one time, and I hate to be redundant because I've said this before, during my wrestling career or any boxing match did I ever not make weight. And you know what? I even had I had a medical scale at my house, thing you'd step on when you go get a physical in the doctor's office. But I also had one of those little scales you buy in CVS or so that you step on. But I zeroed that scale accordingly to the weight on my medical scale. So I had it dialed up to the right weight where it would show me the true weight, give or take a few ounces. And I would carry that thing in my training bag to training camp, or I'd carry that thing to my fights when I fought in Atlantic City at the casinos, or wherever I was staying in a hotel. I would have that scale packed because I knew and I was adamant I was never going to not make weight. And according to what I did, because I conduct myself as a professional, I never failed to make weight. But, you know, I'm not saying everyone has to do this, but these are paid professionals. And they should pay attention to the rules and regulations and how they should conduct themselves and push themselves away from the table or to drink. Hey, it's not easy, but the bottom line is the game has not been the same since they had the day before weigh-ins. We've seen fighters show up 20 pounds overweight from their weigh-in day the day before, and it's not true. It's dangerous, and you could have a case for both sides, same day weigh-in or day before weigh-in. And I like that they the same day weigh-ins. I think that will outweigh the day before weigh-ins.
Well, my point was that I think that a lot of fighters, and I don't think it's an issue of, eating too much or drinking too much.
It's not.
I just think that they're physically too big to be in the weight class that a lot of them are campaigning in, and the only reason why they're doing it is to gain an edge. I mean, to be bigger. But, if everybody's doing it, you're not really gaining an edge. But nonetheless, Machado made a great comeback because, for all intents and purposes, he was losing that fight big time on the scorecards. In the co-main event, Demetrius Andrade, and this was also creating kind of a buzz ringside, because we were all wondering, what happened? Demetrius Andrade, none of the paperwork that we received from Golden Boy, Team Golden Boy, and I'll get to that in a minute, but we didn't receive any paperwork, mentioning that he was a champ. And I got to talk with the powers that be about the fight, and they said, he gave up his title. And I was like, I hadn't heard that. But apparently before the fight, Demetrius Andrade did vacate his regular. He had the WBA regular junior middleweight title that he gave up in return to be automatically ranked in the middleweight division, which makes sense because he was calling out Triple G the day before at the weigh-in. So it was a little crazy to me, but nonetheless, Demetrius Andrade, who had a big following there, won a unanimous decision to improve to 26-0 with 16 knockouts. And Alantez Fox drops to 23-1-1. The way the judges scored it: 118-110, 118-109. And my man Don Ackerman, maybe his eyesight's starting to go bad. He scored at 116-111. Which I can't see that in any way, shape, or form. Demetrius Andrade dominated this fight. The problem is he didn't do it in an exciting fashion, Sal. I couldn't help but think, before I realized that he vacated his title, I'm thinking, oh man, I'd like to see this guy in with those guys I complain about because they're so big, the Charlo brothers, or even the Jared Hurd, the fighter from last week, who looks so big. They're way bigger than Demetrius Andrade. Now all of a sudden he's moving up to middleweight. He's not an exciting fighter. I love Boo Boo Andrade. I think he's got a lot of talent, and when he's pushed, he does fight. But he's very content with throwing 1 and 2 punch combinations, or I should say 2 and 3 punch combinations. Very rarely does he let his hands go and throw in excess of 4 punches at a time, which I believe he needs to do. And then when he dropped Alantez Fox in the Alantez Fox dropped Andrade in the 7th round. It was ruled a knockdown, but I don't know. I mean, a punch did come. But what I was going to mention, I forgot that he didn't go down, but Demetrius Andrade really rocked Alantez Fox in the very first round, but then was complacent with just hanging out and winning a kind of a boring fight. I mean, what did you think?
I thought just what you said, it was boring. In fact, I thought somewhere during the fight with Corrales, I thought I heard, and I could be mistaken, but I thought I heard Max Kellerman almost apologize for the quality or lack thereof that was being broadcast on HBO. He said something to the effect, and I don't want to be held liable for this because I'm not sure exactly what he said, but he made a little hint to these aren't really the kind of fights that HBO usually produces or so, and then boom, that was right before the knockout. So it was like, okay, no, and the Andre Fox fight, I'll tell you what. I remember a term we used to use a lot in the amateur days. These guys, that fighter, he's posing too much. He's posing too much. These guys were posing too much. They're trying to also analogize Fox because he was a big, tall, thin guy. They were saying, well, Tommy Hearns was big, tall, and this guy was big and tall. And as you said, Andre almost put him out with a big hook or a big combination. He got caught with in the first round. So I didn't think this fight was going to go that long. And, like I always said, I love to fight the big, tall, thin guys because it is more the body attack. And I thought that was going to be his strategy throughout the fight. And he was dominant. He won practically every round except for the seventh. And it was a boring fight. And the term we use in the amateur, he's posing. These guys were too tentative. They're almost too respectful, and they're just throwing one punch at a time, taking a jab, coming back, stepping back, boom. It looked like the old term, hey, he's posing. And they want to look good. They didn't get into too many exchanges, and it was a boring fight, very boring fight. I didn't really care for the fight too much. And when he got caught, it was all over, it was done.
True. Hey, hold that thought. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll finish talking about the fights from the weekend and a little beyond, too, because there was a fight Thursday night we didn't get a chance to talk about, and Sunday. So don't go nowhere.
Billy C will be right back.
Stop. Living with hair loss, that is. Losing your hair is no fun, and no one wants to be bald. But there is hope.
Getting my hair back was the best thing that ever happened to me.
I'm happy with the way I look now.
I'm very excited about my hair.
I feel beautiful.
I love my hair.
Hair Club offers all proven hair loss solutions backed by our commitment to satisfaction guarantee. If you're not 100% satisfied with the solution you choose, Hair Club will apply the purchase price to another proven hair loss solution or transplant more hair at no charge.
And it was the best thing I've ever done.
It looks good on me.
Call in the next 5 minutes to get your free brochure at no obligation. It will tell you everything you need to know about your hair loss problem, and it's free if you call now.
I am more pleased than what I had even imagined.
I at least look, I would say, 5 years younger.
I'm 52, and I look better now than I did when I was in my 40s.
I feel great.
And that's not all. The first 100 people who call will also receive $250 off any hair loss solution from Hair Club. Call now.
This is important news for women using birth control medications and devices. If you or a loved one have been diagnosed with a pseudotumor after using one of these birth control drugs or devices, you may be eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Contact the law firm of Davis & Crump right now if you or a loved one have used one of these birth control medications or devices and were diagnosed with a pseudotumor to see if you are eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Call now. Operators are standing by.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you!
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us today. And just to finish up real quickly, because I was ringside, I'll give you guys a quick recap of what else the other fights that took place. The night opened up with a 6-round lightweight fight. Michael Dutchover improved to 6-0 with 5 knockouts when he stopped Anthony De Jesus Ruiz at 2 minutes and 42 seconds of the 4th round. The corner stopped this fight. Ruiz drops to 2-4. In a super featherweight fight scheduled for 6 rounds, it went the distance when Ruben Villa improved to 8-0 with 4 knockouts when he won a unanimous decision over Jermaine Miraz, who drops to 54-45-1 with 35 knockouts. The significance of this fight for Jermaine Miraz, Sal, was that he competed in his 100th fight, and this was something that Dax was talking about last week, and actually we continued talking about it for a while. I know Larry Hazard and I spoke about it too on Wednesday, but this was something that a lot of fighters, fight fans of today, don't put a value in a guy like Jermaine Miraz. Jermaine Miraz is the type of fighter that we need. These kinds of fighters that are tough and rarely get knocked out, like Miraz did not get knocked out, and they test young fighters. And, and a lot of times they upset these guys. And, today's fight fan looks at a record and glances at a record like 54-45 and says, oh, this guy's a bum. But he wasn't. He was in shape. He made weight. He was there to fight. Something you see a lot of in Europe, and I don't think we have enough of these guys, to be honest with you.
No, we don't. But I always refer back to when I watched a fight. I think it was a Saturday show, Wild World of Sports, and Howard Cosell was commentating, and Mike Hercules Weaver, who had a double-digit, maybe loss record, stepping in the ring with Big John Tate for the title. And probably was definitely the B-side fighter coming in with multiple losses on his record. I think he had at least a 500 record, but and boom, right hand caught John Tate. He went down like a tree, just face first. And so no, these fighters with losses in their record. Hey, if they're learning from their losses, and if they're improving, and if they're still able to get in the ring and have the courage and have the conditioning and have the heart and spirit and soul of a champion or a fighter to want to win. And hey, man, I'll tell you what, don't think that behind the fighter's record really tells a true story.
Also on the card in a scheduled 6-round junior welterweight fight, Luis Feliciano improved to 4-0 with his first knockout when he stopped Iveston Dervandes at 2 minutes and 13 seconds of the 2nd round. Dervandes drops to 10-7. The toughest guy in Dervandes' corner was his trainer, who was really pissed. It was kind of fun to watch. A guy who had a huge following, and I had seen him before. Alex Rincon, he improved to 3-0 with 3 knockouts when he stopped Steven Andrade at 2 minutes and 35 seconds of the second round. Andrade drops to 3-3. The thing I like about Rincon is that this guy really worked the body. It looked to me, especially a fighter in his third professional fight, it looked to me like they had been working the body with him leading up to this fight. And Andrade was in good shape, and he was kind of pissed that he succumbed to Rincon's body attack. But it was very joyful to see a young fighter, 3 fights under his belt now, work the body the way he did. The other funny part about this, they kept, introducing him as the undefeated. He had 2 fights, undefeated. He happened to be undefeated, but he had 2 fights.
Speak to me when you get 10 under your belt.
And then when they held his hand, and still undefeated at now 3-0. Come on. In a light heavyweight fight that went the distance, 10 rounds, Demetrius Ballard improved to 18-0 with 12 knockouts when he won a unanimous decision over Jaime Solerano out of Mexico. Solerano was a tough guy, and Ballard went into this fight real cocky, thinking that he was going to beat Jaime, who went in with a record of 9-3-2, and this guy took Ballard all the way to the end. The way the judges scored it, 98-92, and 2 of them had it 99-91. In the fight that led up to, we also got to see the fight out of Europe. It was a long night at Turning Stone. The first fight started at 5:45 p.m. and as you know, After Dark started at 11. So it was a long night. But Lamont Roach Jr. Improved to 15-0 with 5 knockouts when he stopped Luis Hinoso in the very first round, 2 minutes and 4 seconds. And the producer that was with Golden Boy, that was the liaison, kept leaning over to this guy going, hey, man, this Roach Hinoso fight better go 10, man. It better go 10. And all of a sudden, first round, guy twists an ankle, down. He turns, he goes, what the F? He's going, now, he says, you know what, I'm going into the restaurant. Call me in an hour because we got an hour to kill. And it was kind of funny. But anyway, that was the whole fight card out of Turning Stone. Don't miss the next one. And speaking of the fight that they showed, I don't know if you got to see this one, but IBF champ Ryan Burnett unified the bantamweight titles when he won a unanimous decision over the WBA's version of the bantamweight title holder Zanat Zakhanarov. Ryan Burnett improved to 18-0 with 9 knockouts. Zakhanarov drops to 27-2. I thought it was an interesting fight. The way the judges scored it, 118-110, 119-109, and 116-112. Kind of all over the place. Did you see this one?
I did see this one, and I thought Burnett was a tough guy, and they had a great little fight, and Zacchiano came up short. But no, I thought Burnett was a good little fighter. I liked the infighting. They didn't have to find each other. Could almost been held in a phone booth, and it was a good fight from what I remember.
Yeah, it was. It started out a little slow. There was a lot of significance with the fight, only because Ricky Hatton was actually in the corner of Zakhanarov, and we all heard the story. Not only did Jim Lampley tell the story during the broadcast, but he was kind enough to say word for word what he said on the broadcast when he grabbed the mic and started talking to the audience. It was part of their "Let's Kill Some Time" plan, Sal.
Right.
But
used to be ABC's Up Close and Personal. But no, it was a good fight. I like Burnett. I like to keep following him, see what he does. He's a good little fighter. I liked what he did on the inside, and he came well conditioned. Both fighters were in very good condition, and I thought he was an entertaining fighter.
Also, on some other fights that took place on Sunday, Ryota Murata improved to 13-1 when he captured the WBA middleweight title when he beat Hassam Nadam, who retired in his corner, had enough after the 7th round. I was watching this fight. I thought it was kind of strange. I mean, Murata is a tough guy, but I don't know how he's going to do with some of these other 160-pounders. I mean, David Lemieux, I think, would kill him. Even Billy Joe Saunders. Canelo beats him. Obviously, Triple G. To be honest with you, look for, the way the moves went on Saturday, look for Demetrius Andrade to all of a sudden get a fast track.
Let me tell you, Demetrius Andrade cannot hold a candle to any of these guys. And I was saying, because not taking too much away from him. Maybe it was just a bad night, but like I said, when a fighter doesn't make weight and everything else, it shows the lack of discipline there. And like I said, he was posing, he was this and that, he was throwing one punch at a time, a few here and there combinations. Demetrius Andrade in a ring with Triple G or Canelo Alvarez or even they'll be carrying him out on a stretcher.
Well, they won't. He beats Murata, so I think that he could steal a fight from Murata, and don't be surprised if he gets that fight. And then has to fight against a guy like Daniel Jacobs or something who will kill him. But
any one of those guys will kill him. And forget even Dave Lemieux. Dave Lemieux will tee off on his head.
Oh yeah. Also, some other fights to just get you caught up on. Kareem Mayfield improved to 21-4 with a draw when he won a 6-round unanimous decision over Miguel Dumas, who had gone into the fight undefeated. He's now 10-1. The way the judges scored that one, 60-54 twice, and one had it 55-54. From the land down under, former super middleweight champ Sekio Bika won. He improved to 34-7 with 3 draws when he beat Giard Ajavtovic, who drops to 31-16. That also took place on Sunday. And one other fight I wanted to mention. I missed a real important fight. Where is it? Oh, the WBSS. I love this series, and Dax is going to come on in about a half hour. Which reminds me, hold that thought. I missed a break last time, but I'm not going to miss it this time. I'll be back in 2.
Billy C will be right back. Hey, fight.
Air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Don't let outrageous repair and replacement bills like these bust your budget. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or system breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you.
We had a high-end dishwasher go kaput. They put it in a brand new dishwasher.
We have plans that cover air conditioning, most appliances, plus heating, plumbing, electrical systems, and much more. Plans start as low as $25 a month. Why let a major appliance or system breakdown bust your budget or go through the hassle of finding trustworthy service people? Last year alone, we saved our customers over $120 million. Don't wait until something breaks and you're stuck with a huge bill.
You save a lot of money.
It's absolutely worth it.
If you don't have First American Warranty, get it.
Call 1-800-946-6234 for your free no-obligation quote.
If you're over the age of 50 and considering buying an annuity in the next 60 days, I have some important news for you. Don't buy an annuity until you understand the pros and cons of annuities. A free book to help you maximize your retirement income from television host and 3-time author Josh Melberg has been released. This book reveals little-known truths about annuity strategies in simple-to-understand terms. Grab a pen right now because we are about to offer you this free book that unlocks the 5 little-known secrets we believe baby boomers and seniors should know before buying an annuity. Call 800-493-9652 now, and you'll receive a free copy of Josh Melberg's book, Next Gen Annuity Strategies Revealed. As a bonus, we'll also send you the #1 mistakes retirees are making with their investments today, and a free DVD on how you can get up to 33% more income in retirement. Call 800-493-9652 to have your free information kit rushed to your door. Again, that's 800-493-9652.
Stop living with hair loss, that is. Losing your hair is no fun, and no one wants to be bald, but there is hope.
Getting my hair back was the best thing that ever happened to me.
I'm happy with the way I look now.
I'm very excited about my hair.
I feel beautiful.
I love my hair.
Hair Club offers all proven hair loss solutions backed by our commitment to satisfaction guarantee. If you're not 100% satisfied with the solution you choose, Hair Club will apply the purchase price to another proven hair loss solution or transplant more hair at no charge.
It was the best thing I've ever done.
It looks good on me.
Call in the next 5 minutes to get your free brochure at no obligation. It will tell you everything you need to know about your hair loss problem, and it's free if you call now.
I am more pleased than what I had even imagined.
I at least look, I would say, 5 years younger.
I'm 52, and I look better now than I did when I was in my 40s.
I feel great.
And that's not all. The first 100 people who call will also receive $250 off any hair loss solution from Hair Club. Call now.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us today. And before I went to break, I forgot one of the most exciting fights of the weekend, Sal, and it was the World Boxing Super Series Cruiserweight division. It was the final quarterfinals, they're calling it. And Murad Gassiev improved to 25-0. Now, remember, he's the IBF World Cruiserweight Champion. When he knocked out Krzysztof Lazarek. Remember, Krzysztof Lazarek was the guy that David Fraud Hay avoided in the Cruiserweight division to move up and get a fast track to the heavyweight title. And Lazarek is no spring chicken, but he drops to 53-4 with a draw. He got knocked out in the third round at 1 minute and 57 seconds. This World Boxing Super Series has treated us to now 4 big, highlight reel knockouts. And I love every minute of it. Dax will be on in a little bit to talk about that. But there was one other fight, too. And this, by the way, was in Jersey. We'll be talking to Larry about that on Wednesday. And they have, their system here is they have a substitute, like mini tournament going on during this tournament where the guys that are in line for substitutes are also advancing. And Mateusz Masternak improved to 40-4 when he scored a 7th-round stoppage over Stevens Bujai, who drops to 16-2 like I said, in the 7th round. So he continues to move forward as a possible substitute should a cruiserweight get injured or can't move on. But now on Thursday, there was I really wanted to watch this fight, and I did, and I was glad I did. Gabe Rosado, one of these throwback kind of fighters. Yeah, one of these throwback kind of fighters.
I liked it.
He improved to 24-11 when he scored a 6th-round stoppage over Glenn Jersey Boy Tapia Thursday night. It was in Vegas. The official time was 1 minute and 15 seconds. Here's my thought. I thought Rosado looked good. However, when he fights against the top-level opposition, he still has trouble. He'll have trouble with good, quality fighters, especially fast-handed fighters. He still takes too many shots. His defense isn't great. Plus, his own hand speed is mediocre at best. I love Jersey Boy. I love Glenn Tapia. But, he reminded me, when I was watching this fight, I kept saying, who does he remind me of? Who does he remind me of? And all of a sudden it hit me. He reminds me of Peter Manfredo Jr., not only physically and style-wise, but exactly how when Peter Manfredo Jr. started to go downhill, just like Tapia is, too many shots, more heart than his body can just put up with. he wants to fight, but he just can't pull that trigger. I think he's taken a lot of punishment. He has lost, his fourth fight in a row, all taking punishment. I love his style. I love his attitude. I love his power. But to be honest with you, Sal, this guy's got to hang him up at this point. He's a young man, and I certainly don't want to see any damage. What was your thoughts on the fight?
Yeah, I enjoyed the fight. It was good, and Gabe Rosado was able to pull it out. And the fact that I think I gave Tappy the first round. He came out, wanting to show that he had what it took to be there, and I thought he was aggressive. And I like the story, how he's providing a gym and training the following he has and the young kids in the town where he is. And it was a nice story, and he could probably do well cultivating young talent in his gym and being there for all these young fighters. But the fight itself, I thought was an entertaining fight. I liked watching Gabe Rosado. I agree with you. I think when he steps up against a big competition, he might have a little trouble. But he was entertaining. He did a good job. And I also was going to ask you. I don't know if you want to talk about it now or save it for another time. But I heard Andre Ward throughout some of the fights, and I'm starting to see why they brought him on board. And to be the technical guy and to see. I thought he did a decent job telling some insight from a fighter's perspective about where the fighter may be in the fight and things like that. He also coined one of my favorite sayings during that Rosado fight. I can't believe it. He actually coined my phrase, now they're just jockeying for position, the fighters. And that's my favorite phrase. So it's good. But I like the fight, but I think Rosado definitely has a brighter future in his career than Glenn Tapia. I think Tapia should think twice.
Glenn is, as much as I like Gabe Rosado, as soon as he, gets in there with a top-notch fighter, he's going to get in trouble. Co-feature Keandre Gibson improved to 18-1-1 when he scored a majority decision over Alejandro Barrera. Barrera fought hard. And the scores were kind of all over the place. 98-92, 97-93, both in favor of Gibson. And then the third had it even, 95-95. So who the hell knows? But anyway, hey, in NFL action, first and foremost, in Major League Baseball action, the Dodgers will be playing the Astros beginning tomorrow night for the World Series. Congratulations to both teams. And congratulations to the Yankees. I'm not a Yankee fan, so don't think I'm just congratulating them because I'm a Yankee fan. I'm not at all. As a matter of fact, I despise them, but I give them a lot of credit. They were down 2-0 in the divisional playoff series and came back and won that. They had to play that game to get into that, and they were down 2-0 in the championship series. And went back to Houston with a 1-game lead and put Houston in a position where they had to win 2 in a row, and they did just that. So Houston and the Dodgers will begin the World Series tomorrow night. Now, over in the NFL, yesterday the Bills beat the Buccaneers 30-27. The Bears topped the Panthers, which was a surprise to me, 17-3. The Jaguars blanked the Colts 27-0. The Titans took overtime to beat the Browns 12-9. The Browns haven't won a game yet, but they have been in there tough. They're a couple of players away from being contenders, I think. I really do. They still need a quarterback. But Saints over the Packers, obviously they missed their quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, 26-17. The Rams, they're for real. They shut out the Cardinals 33-0. In a game that I'm still throwing up over, the Dolphins beat the Jets 31-28. The Jets are, I keep telling everybody this. The worst coach that I've ever seen is Todd Bowles. This guy has no clue what's going on. The Jets defense, they give up games when they need to really hunker down at the best time. When the Jets defense has to come through, they never do. And that quarterback he's not good, boys and girls. This is a guy and he proved it yesterday by throwing an interception all the way across the field. I know he's the best of who they got, but everybody thought that he's doing great. There's a reason why teams get rid of quarterbacks. There's a reason why he played for 8 different NFL teams in his career. And by the way, it's really 10 because he was cut from 2 of the teams before the opening day. So 31-28 Jets lose. Vikings beat the Ravens 24-16. Cowboys beat the 49ers 40-10. Seahawks beat the Giants 24-7. The Steelers over the Bengals 29-14. The Chargers shut out the Broncos. What happened to the Broncos? 21-0. And the Patriots beat the Falcons. I think the 23-7. I think that's might be maybe 2 or maybe even 3 games in a row the Falcons have lost. I got an email. We didn't get to read this one on Friday or Thursday whenever we did our show last. And this one's from my man Jeff. He says, and it's concerning the David Lemieux Billy Joe Saunders fight, and this is my man Jeff's opinion. He says, Billy, I'm intrigued by the matchup of Saunders versus Lemieux. It's an interesting meeting of boxer versus puncher. With the increased spotlight on the British fighters, I've seen several of the Saunders' recent fights, and make no mistake, this young man can fight and compete very well against the best of them. I've always believed Triple G would be too relentless in his pursuit of Saunders, but as fun and as talented as Lemieux is, he does not have those same cutting off the ring skills. I believe Saunders has the better ability to take a punch and will employ a steady stick and move game plan to move out of Lemieux's power range and turn Lemieux into position for Saunders to land his heavier shots between the jabs. Saunders is very cocky, and frankly, I don't care for his low-class attitude. Let's not even discuss his wise-ass kid, nor his overall performance in his last effort. But I do not believe he was really ever up for that fight. When the challenge is great and even a little bit more intimidating, I believe he performs better and smarter. Saunders took on Eubank Jr. when he didn't have to, even though Eubank was on the green side. It was a big domestic fight, and he fought intelligently, staying away from Eubank's power until the end, where it was safer to mix it up. The atmosphere will be in Lemieux's favor, and Saunders will definitely be the heel in the buildup of this fight, but the Brits support their fighters away, and my prediction is Saunders rises to the occasion, which is something we hear from Sal at least 10 times a day, and frustrates Lemieux with his awkward movement and surprising power. This will be a fun and an exciting fight. Love the show. Never miss an episode. Thank you, Jeffrey. Wow. Your official prediction you didn't give. I'm assuming you're talking upset for Billy Joe Saunders. What do you think, Sal?
You know, I love his breakdown. I love his assessment, and I could see, you know, where he gives merit to Saunders' style and possibility of, you know, like I said, any given night, anybody could be beaten. I just think part of David Lemieux's approach to fighting when he gets in the ring is he's oblivious to some of the technical things and boxing, and he just has one thing on mind. Let me land one of my haymakers and let me connect. And I think that, you know, he does avoid some punches. He doesn't get hit with everything, but he is a target at times. I just think his punching power will prevail, and even though Saunders may be able to outbox him, get in and out, and move, I just think when Dave Lemieux can prepare himself for in sparring and training for a Saunders style like fight, I think we will see a little bit more from Dave Lemieux as far as possibly cutting the ring off or being prepared to see how Saunders can move in the ring. And I think Dave Lemieux is a little smarter fighter than what we give him credit for. And I hope to see that improvement because I like David Lemieux, and I'm not going to make that no bones about that. I think he's a good, exciting fighter. He's got the punching power, and I could see exactly where it could be a very good fight. It's going to be a very entertaining fight, very good fight.
Lemieux will get the better of Saunders and
I think so. I think his power. I think David Lemieux's power. You know, it is an equalizer to a degree. And I think he also learned, and he came up short of, as we know, on the Triple G fight. But I think during that fight, he also learned, because we've seen him again, and I think he's got a lot of passion and heart yet that I think he's going to constantly give us his best and steadily improve a little bit. And I think he's going to give us a good show. I think it's going to be a great show.
As far as the leading up, the building leading up to it, we knew that this was going to get fun. So I got some quotes. Billy Joe Saunders says, Lemieux looks good against B-level fighters, but now he's getting in the ring with someone who's far more superior and slick than anyone he's ever been in the ring with. I don't just want the dog meat that Triple G has left behind. I want the dog himself. And when I come through in this fight, I will get him. He's a mandatory, and we've agreed to a deal to go over to foreign soil and get it on. I have a lot of friends in Canada, and I'll be bringing a lot of supporters over to Canada from the UK. It's all the makings of a good fight. I'm expecting a good, clean, fair decision. Once I beat Lemieux, I'll be moving on to bigger fish. The winner of the rematch between Canelo and Triple G, I'm looking forward to a great fight. David Lemieux says, it's time to be world champion again. Saunders is about to get destroyed. I'm going to be extremely ready for this fight, and I'm going to inflict a lot of pain on Billy Joe Saunders. His O must go. A lot of talk going on between the two fighters. I agree with you, Sal. I think it's going to be a good fight. One thing, makes me laugh, moving on to something else now, but one thing makes me laugh big time about some of the sanctioning bodies, and specifically the WBA. After we watched Leo Santa Cruz fight and we watched Abner Mares fight a couple weeks ago, during the fight, and then when we talked about it on that Monday, all we talked about was Santa Cruz fighting Abner Mares next. As a matter of fact, they already had an agreement. As a matter of fact, they talked about that during the broadcast. Well, the WBA wanted to make sure that they are in the driver's seat, which you see, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls and children of all ages, the truth of the matter is simply this. If a fighter gains notoriety, the belts don't mean crap to them. That doesn't affect their money. It does affect their money when they don't have to pay a sanctioning fee. And the sanctioning bodies need the bigger names more than the bigger names need them. And here's a case where the WBA did not want to be left out of the mix, because on Monday or Tuesday, I think it was, they ordered, this past Monday or Tuesday, a week after, they ordered that the Leo Santa Cruz and Abner Mares start negotiations for their fight. Was it necessary? These guys were already negotiating. They already had a deal in place. But according to the WBA, they wanted to make sure that these guys played nice, and they have to come up with an agreement and a scheduled fight by November 6th, which is pretty soon. It's another week or so away. They fought like they were supposed to. They both won. And now we'll see what happens. If it does not go if they don't get an agreement by November 6th, this will go to purse bid according to the WBA. And, this is just another one of those cases, Sal, where they want to be in the mix. They want to make it seem like, without them, the fighters are worthless. And I think it's a total other way around.
Yeah, I think you're right. And, but we're going to have that constant struggle. And we always have to put up with the sanctioning bodies. And, it is what it is. That's the way the game has. What's the antagonist of Evolve? Devolve? I mean, it's gotten too complicated for its own good, and I think that it's been on a pathway that can't be stopped now.
Some other news I wanted, I'm going to tell you guys this, and I'm not going to mention names, but let me just say this. You know how I say Deontay Wilder is a fraud, right? And I don't blame Deontay, because Deontay really feels that he's the best heavyweight. Well, let me give you an inside scoop. And this is coming from very inside. I just can't mention his name. They know.
And it's not me.
They know. It's definitely not you. They know for a fact that Deontay Wilder cannot beat Anthony Joshua. And they are finding every possible way to avoid that showdown. So, FYI, boys and girls, Team Wilder, they all know that he doesn't stand a chance. They all know that he's been a built-up fraud. And, no disrespect to Deontay, the man himself. But it's a shame that people are actually putting this kid in harm's way, because they are. When you build up a guy like this who struggles with fighters he should take out quickly, and then have him really believing that he's so good, that becomes a dangerous situation, at least in my opinion. Fighters aren't allowed to progress, naturally, increasing their level of opposition. Then they are never going to get better. And then when they finally get put in there, they get destroyed. And speaking of AJ, we'll be talking about him later in the week because he fights last-minute sub this weekend. So anyway, some things I wanted to mention real quick. Top Rank, one of these other, one of the main promoters, they went a different route. And apparently, since Top Rank cut their deal with ESPN, they have really been kicking some ass in the rankings, television viewing rankings. Apparently, according to ESPN, boxing under the Top Rank banner as getting the highest ratings since 2006, 11 years, which is great. And not only that, but they also are kicking ass with the out-of-home viewing, which is, handheld and stuff like that, up as much as 15% overall, and especially in the 18 to 35-year-old group, up well over 20%. This is all in the last several months, so really good news on that, and some better news pertaining to ESPN and Top Rank. There's another big fight, a couple of big fights on ESPN. November 11th, Artur Beterbiev is taking on Enrico Colling for the vacant IBF light heavyweight title. And also on that card, Jose Ramirez will be taking on Mike Reed, both undefeated fighters in the junior welterweight division. Then on December 9th, at a Madison Square Garden, which is already sold out, you will see Vasily Lomachenko against Guillermo Rigondeaux in a much anticipated fight. So ESPN is doing well. And Sal, Golden Boy Promotions was the promoter for the HBO event that I went to on Turning Stone. And, they bring their show with them. And it was kind of made me think that it was more of a circus act than anything else. The one thing I noticed that was stupid on Golden Boy's part, there was no local fights, no local fighters on the card, and the attendance could have been a little better. I mean, that arena seats 5,000, and I would say it was about half full. They had a whole section closed off, but if you're going to bring an event into town, even though it's on TV, you got to have some local fighters on that card. What's your thoughts?
Well, of course you do, and that's what I always refer back to when we go to grassroots promotion, and that's what you do. You draw the local community by having a preliminary card made up with comprised of some local fighters. I mean, it's a natural, and I don't know why they didn't want to do that, because it would have probably put some more fans in the stadium there.
Yeah, well,
that's a basic. That's a fundamental. Hey, should be. Hey, this is what we do, and this is how we do it.
Well, one of the things that really bothered me was they had this guy from Golden Boy, Tattoo the One, and he's running around, with a mic in his hand and trying to get the crowd going. And normally you have these gorgeous Turning Stone. Ask Alex Propali. Turning Stone is normally known for the most gorgeous ring card girls, and they usually have 8 of them, and they're all over the place. I mean, I go there for them, really. No, I don't. But they had one, and granted, she was beautiful. The Tecate girl, you see her a lot. She's probably one of the better ring card girls, and I don't mean just appearance wise. I mean she knows how to, she knows what she's doing in there. And But this other guy's running around throwing T-shirts to everybody, tossing out Canelo gloves. I mean, it was like a big advertisement for Golden Boy. And I thought it kind of took away. I mean, you know, what kind of fans are we trying to attract? Are we looking for the carnival act? You know, Coach has said for several years now that boxing has become WWE, Sal. And I'll tell you, I saw traces of it from a live perspective. I mean, we see it from behind the scenes and the build-up and the trash talking and all of that stuff. But now all of a sudden at the events, it's being built up. It's like a circus show. You know, it wasn't enjoyable. Maybe it's just me getting old, but I don't know. There wasn't that many kids there. I mean, that's the whole thing. I mean, if there was a lot of kids in the audience, maybe you do it like that. There really wasn't. I don't know. What's your quick thoughts? You got it. 30 seconds.
Well, I know you and I texted a little bit back and forth, and I gave you a whole dissertation as far as what I thought.
No, you didn't. You were afraid that you didn't do it. You were afraid that somebody was going to intercept that text, and you didn't want to do it. But I knew what you meant. I knew what you meant, and you knew what I meant.
But also, I think boxing, shoots itself in the foot from time to time, and part of it is because they feel that boxing, or whatever they want to bite on, they feel that boxing has to be one of those sports, those progressive sports that they try and reinvent the wheel, or where they try to fix what's not broken. And by doing so and keeping up with the contemporary times, they're really not getting what the boxing purists or what the fans really call for, and that is the basics. That's how boxing has always been. What attracts people to boxing is the fights and the fighters and the basics, not the hoopla, not this, not that. So I think a lot of it gets lost in translation of how the industry or how people want to evolve with the sign of the times, but not realizing that, hey, this is not what boxing is all about. Well, this is not what...
No, I got to take a break, but the thing is, I don't want people to start dropping emails and saying I missed a point, because I certainly didn't. I get it. The point is that you want to have people that go to live boxing events feel like it's an event and it's fun. And Golden Boy was successful at doing it. My point is, it was just handled in a young, like a kid's mentality level. I think they could have accomplished the same thing, even throwing the same gloves and the same stuff away, if it was presented in a more adult fashion. That's all. It seemed very immature to me, Sal. I mean, it seemed like it was geared towards 8 and 10-year-old kids, which I don't have a problem with that, but specifically those age groups aren't normally at a live boxing event, even though there were several, and there was also a couple of babies there, but for the most part it's an adult event. Anyway, hold that thought. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're scheduled to have Dax Khan join us with his thoughts on the fights from the weekend. So don't go nowheres. All right?
Billy C will be right back. Part of the Billy C Boxing Network.
If you're over the age of 50 and considering buying an annuity in the next 60 days, I have some important news for you. Don't buy an annuity until you understand the pros and cons of annuities. A free book to help you maximize your retirement income from television host and 3-time author Josh Melberg has been released. This book reveals little-known truths about annuity strategies in simple-to-understand terms. Grab a pen right now, because we are about to offer you this free book that unlocks the 5 little-known secrets we believe baby boomers and seniors should know before buying an annuity. Call 800-493-9652 now, and you'll receive a free copy of Josh Melberg's book, Next Gen Annuity Strategies Revealed. As a bonus, we'll also send you the #1 mistakes retirees are making with their investments today, and a free DVD on how you can get up to 33% more income in retirement. Call 800-493-9652 to have your free information kit rushed to your door. Again, that's 800-493-9652.
If you or a loved one have had hernia repair surgery with mesh reinforcement and suffered infection, chronic pain, mesh migration, mesh failure, organ damage, or needed additional surgery, call the Rely On Group right now. You may be eligible to receive a cash award and compensation for your medical expenses. Your voice deserves to be heard. Call the Rely On Group to be connected with a personal injury attorney for a free consultation. Call 800-715-4869. That's 800-715-4869.
Broken air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Don't let outrageous repair and replacement bills like these bust your budget. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or system breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you.
We had a high-end dishwasher go kaput. They put it in a brand new dishwasher.
We have plans that cover air conditioning, most appliances, plus heating, plumbing, electrical systems, and much more. Plans start as low as $25 a month. Why let a major appliance or system breakdown bust your budget or go through the hassle of finding trustworthy service people? Last year alone, we saved our customers over $120 million. Don't wait until something breaks and you're stuck with a huge bill.
You save a lot of money.
It's absolutely worth it.
If you don't have First American Warranty, get it.
Call 1-800-946-6234 for your free no-obligation quote.
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks, like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code ENJOY36, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of Grazers already in love with our exciting snacks. So come to Graze.com for your first box free.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're listening and watching the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. You know, last time I had the sun shining in on me like it is right now, we lost power. That's what happens around these parts. But anyway, joining us right now from parts unknown, from a country unknown. No, it's like WWE. Joining us now in the red corner from parts unknown is my man Dax Khan. What's up, Dax?
Good morning. How are you?
I don't know. Somebody slipped something in my coffee between breaks, but anyway.
They must have.
Yeah, the fight. You know what? Let's talk real quick about the fight Thursday night. We didn't get a chance to talk about that on Friday, of course, and I know I wanted to look at the other fights, but you know. Sal and I both agreed. It seems like, and I love Glenn Tapia, but it seems like he's. I mean, when you make Gabe Rosado look like he's Sugar Ray Robinson in there, I mean, it's time to hang him up. What was your thoughts on that fight?
I like the way Rosado was boxing, and he was avoiding the brawl. I know Tapia is a shot fighter for all intents purposes. Being back with Billy Briscoe, I think, has made a change for Rosado. Tapia definitely. Ever since the James Kirkland fight, honestly, Glenn Tapia hasn't looked very well. He's definitely lost his punch resistance. Gabe Rosado, who's not a big puncher, if he can swell you up and make you look like that, then obviously, your body is saying no more. He has that Jersey Boy boxing gym. His heart may want to fight, but, it's time to hang him up because he's going to end up, I just see bad things happening, unfortunately. Not that I'm wishing it on him, but, he's one of those guys that, to me, just seemed like one big punch away from tragedy.
Hey, did you hear my comparison? He reminded me, not only does he look and fight like him, but when he was on the end, on the downswing too, he reminded me a hell of a lot of Peter Manfredo Jr.
Yeah, actually, except Peter could take a punch better.
I don't know. Tapia used to be able to take a punch pretty well. I mean, I think the accumulation of the last 4 fights in a row, he's taken a severe beating.
Yeah, like I said, I think the James Kirkland fight, after that James Kirkland fight, he was just never the same.
Yeah. Well, remember, Remember the fight with Peter Manfredo and Joe Calzaghe? I mean, they waved that one off fast, and that was towards the end. That I don't know if that was his last fight or it was definitely towards the end. But anyway,
second to last.
Yeah.
Favorite part about that, and I always tell people about it all the time when they ask about these moments. It was Larry Merchant afterwards. He's interviewing, and Frank Warren's coming over. He's interviewing Joe Calzaghe, and he's asking Joe Calzaghe, well, what's next in your career? Frank Warren starts walking over, and Larry Merchant literally looks at him. He goes, go away. And he's like, what? He goes, nobody hears what you want to talk about. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking to you. Just go, get away. And Larry's getting all mad. His hair's going in all different directions. I loved it. And Frank Warren, like a dog with his tail between his legs, just looked at the ground and just stood in the back. It was the only thing he was missing was a dunce cap.
The WVSS, man, has not let us down at all, Dax. Tell us about what you saw with Gaziev knocking out Vlad Zarek the other night.
I was, this weekend, it's a good thing we didn't come on I didn't come on Friday. There was no show, but I'd had a lot of these fights wrong. I actually thought Vlad Zarek was going to be able to bring Gaziev late, kind of drown him, bring him to places he's never been, because against Lebedev, Gaziev didn't look that good, and Lebedev is far from his best, but that body shot, has really did its damage on Vlad Zarek. He wasn't able to continue. He never even really got into the fight. I don't think Gaziev is that good. I just think maybe Vlad Zarek just wasn't his night. It happens. He's not a shot fighter by any means. He's never been stopped before. So, but it was a good fight. It was a good ending. The atmosphere there, as always, is great with those World Boxing Super Series. I don't think Gaziev is going to win. A lot of people were praising his power, but you know what? He doesn't have the Junior Dortico's power, and he certainly would not be able to go in there and do something like that with Alexander Usyk. So, it was good. As for Vlad Zarek, I don't know what's next for him. He hasn't really been a contender since 2014 when he lost his WBC title to Andrade. So I don't know. What do you say about that? About a guy like that? He's been around for so long, and he's given us so many good fights. Him and Steve Cunningham actually are the two guys that you would credit for today's modern cruiserweight division gaining his popularity when nobody was around and nobody was fighting or feeling those titles were valid. Steve Cunningham went over to Europe, and him and Vlad Zarek, their series of fights back and forth against each other is what really gave that division recognition.
Yeah, he's been around a long time, a lot of miles on him. The torch has been passed, but overall, that World Boxing Super Series has given us some great fights, some fantastic, KO real knockouts. I hope he does more, man. I hope he does more, and I'm really looking forward to how it unfolds because we got some great matchups coming our way. But HBO, Machado, upsetting Jezreel Corrales. Sal and I both... we both kind of feel good for Corrales. Good for you for not making weight, but maybe it's an indication that maybe we do need to revisit the same-day weigh-ins. What was your thoughts on that fight?
The fact he didn't make weight by so much, it wasn't even by a pound. I believe the first time he came in weighing was 134, and the most he was able to get down to was 133.5 or 133.6. He came in there, I never really thought that much of Corrales. I actually thought that Robinson Castellanos, was pretty much the guy that told the story on how to beat him. He almost reminds me of a poor man's Prince Nassim Hamed without that ultimate skill set where, he comes at these awkward angles and he dodges in, he darts out. And we all know exactly what happened with Prince Nassim Hamed. Marco Antonio Barrera did the basic fundamentals and he just picked Hamed apart. And that's, after a rough, rocky start, after suffering from these awkward angles, being caught with that same punch over and over again, Freddie Roach is in the corner. He's telling Alberto Machado, listen, just use the jab, go out there and work that, and that's exactly what he did. And that's how he ended up catching Corrales coming in at that time when they exchanged punches at the same time. Referee Mark Nelson, talk about horrible. Not only did he allow Corrales that 30 seconds to hold, and he didn't count that one knockdown. After he allows Corrales to hold and that tackle happened, he warns Machado for a slight hold. But I was happy for Machado. This is a kid. He has a lot to work on, obviously. If he doesn't, Freddie doesn't work on it soon, he's not going to keep that title for very long. But you know what? It was a good night. It was one of those feel-good moments because this is a kid, back in Puerto Rico, his island is just, the island, the country is totally smashed. And he was dedicating this to them, his family back there. He gave them something to cheer about. This was a comeback from nowhere story. So, all in all, it was good. And as far as Robinson Castellanos, he has to work on some things. He's got to learn how to use those fundamentals, or you know what? Pretty much Machado showed the way exactly how to beat him, or should I say Robinson Castellanos showed exactly how to beat Jezreel Corrales.
Jezreel Corrales, I don't think he was that great to begin with. I don't know why they were making such a big thing about him. And you're right about the weight. He only had lost a half a pound. He ended up weighing 3.5 pounds over, and it didn't seem to help him. But what about Demetrius Andrade? He comes in and fights at middleweight. It all had us kind of a little confused. We didn't know what had gone on, but he had apparently hours before he had vacated his title, cut a deal with the WBA to be ranked high should he have won. And he did win. And, the fight was a snooze fest, Dax. I mean, he needs to go in there and fight. He controlled the fight. There was no question about it. But he doesn't throw more than 2 punches at a time. Very rarely does he go in 3 and 4s. I think he needs to do that. And maybe that, I've been blaming the promotional team of Star and Banner Promotions for not getting him the recognition that he should have. But maybe it's his own style.
Remember this. Here's a true story about Demetrius Andrade. If you remember the night Mayweather versus Cotto, Star Boxing had Friday night fights on Saturday. It was a special edition. And I was there ringside. I was on the apron, and that was the night that Andrade had fought Rudy Cisneros. And he just goes in there, he just knocks Cisneros out. And I looked at somebody, and I shook my head because this was such an overmatched fight. And somebody from Andrade's team walked over to me and goes, "Oh, you didn't like the performance?" I said, "The performance was great, but look at the fight. Look at the opponent. It's not hard to look good against an opponent like that." And he says, "You know something? They don't want to pay him. They don't want to give him any money. They don't want to get him big fights. They're not seeking the big fights for him. So why should he go out there and should he take these chances? We've been begging him for big name opponents. He gets that BO title, and look what happened with the WBO title because of the promoter. And what they did is, somehow Andrade, did not get get his contract signed in time. So he had the year he had, was he stripped, or he had to vacate the title before he was being stripped. So I can understand exactly what you're saying. I was disappointed because Andrade is such a top talent, and if he had a top name to go in there against, I really think we'd see the absolute best in Andrade because he is a phenomenal fighter. But on the other side too, when you're not getting these paychecks that you should, and you are having to struggle just to get these fights, and you're continuously arguing with your promoter, that's difficult. You're going in there and taking chances against guys that are 2, 3, and even 4 levels below you. And let's be honest, Atlantis Fox is not he's more or less just another version of an Aaron Pryor Jr., a little bit taller. I've never seen a guy that tall with such a long reach have such a horrible jab. It was, horrible. I've never seen a jab that bad before. I am disappointed Andrade didn't go out there and get that knockout. He started out quick. I thought he was going to really take it to him and make a statement. So who knows? I think maybe if we see Andrade step it up against a higher level of competition, we will see the very best in him. But as for what happened on Saturday night, it didn't look good for him. But we do know that definitely Demetrius Andrade is a talent. But that clock is ticking. He's going to be 30 years old. And 30 years old, when you haven't been able to continuously use your tools, those tools start to rust. And that is what could happen if he doesn't get himself a couple opponents of an upper tier before he steps in with some of them big names at middleweight, or else he can end up being the guy who's just an opponent.
Hey, Sal, I agree with Dax that Demetrius Andrade needed to make a statement. But where I disagree is I don't see the lack of big paychecks and his promotional. I blame his promotion for not trying to get him the fights, and I think that they are hard to deal with because they actually outprice Andrade, from these fights. Not necessarily giving Andrade the big paychecks, but I think that has something to do with it. My question to you is, should the lack of being paid deter a fighter from stepping up a performance? I mean, I would think it would be the opposite. I agree with Dax that I thought that Demetrius Andrade needed to make a statement. This had to be a statement fight to show that Alantez Fox does not belong in the same ring with Demetrius Andrade. And although he won a one-sided fight, it wasn't an exciting fight. He didn't make a clear statement, in my opinion. And I think he needed to just go out there and let his hands go. This might be something that he never does, regardless of his opponent. What's your thoughts?
I think you're right, Bill. I mean, I expected more from Andrade, and he did not impress me. And as you were suggesting, you're the essence, the word fighter. You are a fighter. You whether it's the bucking the system, whether it's doing whatever, you got to go out there to fight to win. You got to make an impression. You got to do it big. You got to do it what you can do to not only just get by. I think he had an opportunity, as Dax suggested too. He had to make a statement. And I don't see the statement being made with this fight. And he had the opportunity, but I don't think he maybe he just doesn't have it in him. I don't know. And you know what? We're now campaigning as a middleweight. I cannot picture him in the ring with some of the top tier middleweight contenders. I think he'll be carried out on a stretcher.
Well, he's definitely not a guy that goes out there and seeks the knockout. He's a pure boxer.
Yeah.
He does have power, but he's a pure boxer. But as far as the thing, what we're talking about in terms of the making a statement, yes, obviously that's if you knew your promoter was going to get you bigger fighters. Remember, this is the same people that dealt with Chris Algieri, and instead of maximizing Chris Algieri, what they did was they almost let Chris Algieri blow the biggest fight of his career against Manny Pacquiao, because they were allowing him to do their own negotiation instead of sitting there grabbing him and say, listen, kid, this is what we got to do. Win or lose, as long as you look good, we're going to keep you in that top area. Instead, what they do is they allow Chris Algieri to almost blow it by Chris Algieri negotiating for himself. Why does a promoter allow the fighter to negotiate for himself? You know what? Because this is, in my opinion, this is a fighter, a guy who sit there and said, you know what, this is going to be the last big paycheck I get, and I got to maximize the most of this for myself. And what does Joe DeGuardia do? Joe DeGuardia comes out and makes a statement to the press, and he goes, I can't believe Chris Algieri is doing this. You know what, Joe? You should have been in there you should have been in there doing all the bargaining and got Chris the absolute biggest check that you possibly could, and Chris should have been concentrating on training and doing what the fighter's supposed to do, making sure he makes weight and all those other things, instead of this guy out here trying to see if he can get the biggest possible check he could. So that's frustrating, especially when you're locked in a contract and you know what, Star Boxing, even Banner Promotions, it doesn't matter if you're a world champion, it doesn't matter if you're pound for pound. If you're under their banner, they'll be more than happy to keep you on Friday night fights for your entire career. That's what they do.
Well, it's like Geico. It's what they do. But I think my big question to Demetrius Andrade is, why did you re-sign with them? He re-signed with them. His contract was up, and he re-signed with them. These guys did nothing for him. And the only reason why Banner got his clause in him is because he beat his guy, and they had that deal where he got a piece of him. So Banner and Star are now co-promoting. With Andrade, it was stupid of Demetrius Andrade to re-sign. The guy's not getting the big fights. He's not making the money. So what do? You stay with the same team? No, you make changes. I don't know, man. I agree with Sal 100%. With the top middleweights, I think Demetrius Andrade should have stayed put in the junior middleweight division. He's not a big guy. He's stepping into dangerous waters against those guys. I just think that he is going to be the next guy who fights Murata. And, from that point on, like Coach just said in the chat room, it's downhill from there. He just is not physically big enough or good enough to compete.
Or strong, powerful enough.
Right, with all those top middle.
Bill, I agree. He could have stayed in the 154-pound division. There's a lot of fights there, but you know what? They weren't getting him those fights either. All those 154-pound champions and what's going on there, the PBC fighters, they're not doing any business with them. You can name any of either Charlo brothers.
That's what makes him think he's going to get the big. Yeah, but I don't understand why. The bottom line is, what makes them think that he's going to get the other fights if he can't get those?
It seems to me this is more or less one of those things, like I said with Chris Algieri, that Demetrius Andrade is making this decision on his own, and if he can just get one of those big fights, a Canelo, let's just say, or even a Murata, you know what, it'd be more than what he's made so far. And you know what, if I'm going to lose, and I'm going to lose big, at least I might as well get one big paycheck for it, because I just been sitting on the shelf doing nothing. He's one of those guys that you walk up to him, you haven't seen him in a while, you sit and you say to yourself, you know what, wow, you got dust all over you, you've been sitting there for so long.
Speaking of Murata, what was your thoughts on the Murata-Nadam fight?
Well, I was impressed with Murata. I thought Nadam was going to go in there and he was going to box better. I thought in the first fight he actually underestimated Murata, but I didn't see any of Nadam's footwork. I really didn't see any of the angles that we're used to seeing from him. Murata, he's not a one-punch power guy, but I'll tell you what, he's a strong fighter. His punches are thudding, and he just keeps coming straight forward. He's kind of basic with the fundamentals. More or less, it's just a 1-2 and then a hook. There's nothing really overly special about him. He doesn't seem to have anything that's going to surprise an opponent. But I'll tell you what, this guy, remember, he only has, 13 fights now, or 14 fights. So in a couple more fights, as this guy starts to improve, he's really going to be a major player in the middleweight division. I really think that we've seen a new player arrive in this division, and if he should be able to get into the mix with some of these other top names, it just makes that division even more interesting. As far as Ndam, I don't know. Ndam is a guy, he has a lot of miles on him. He's been around a long time. This is the first time he's ever been stopped, but we have seen him in a lot of fights take a lot of punches. Maybe that's catching up with him. He's 34, 35 years old now. Who knows what's next for him? I still think that, he's a talented fighter. But as for Murata, I want to see more of him. And the undercards over there, I don't know if you guys were able to stream any of those. I was able to see some of those cards. And let me tell you something. Some of those guys on there, Diaga Haiga, and, of course, I thought he was going to beat Mason, the Danish fighter, but I'll tell you what, I would love to see Haiga against Kazuto Ioka, the WBA champion, and those two guys are kind of similar to what you would say Carlos Kudras or Roman Gonzalez and Sorong Visi is for that division above, because there's a lot of talent over there. I wish we could actually get some more of these Japanese fighters on TV. I don't care if it even is 7 o'clock in the morning on ESPN, because these guys bring it, and these guys have a lot of ability. Everybody that comes out of that Taiken gym and those gyms surrounding, let me tell you, they bring it every single time. They don't leave anything behind at any point in time, and you get your money's worth no matter what.
No doubt. Dax, we'll look forward to you later in the week, my man. I appreciate your thoughts on the fights, and we'll be chatting with you later on in the week.
All right. Hey, one last thing before I go. Last night they had a marathon on ESPN of old George Foreman fights, and some old Roberto Duran fights from the early '70s, and they had one against Foreman against Louis Pras. Do you ever remember hearing George Foreman announce from Hayward, California?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Yeah, they introduced him from Hayward, California. Now, at first I thought maybe it was a mistake or something, and then I was doing some research on that, and then early in George's career, before he became named, he used to spend a lot of time over there in California when he was younger. He actually wanted to be a football player, which is pretty common knowledge, but because he was over in Hayward, in California at that time, they just, for some reason, they announced him from Hayward, California. I had to listen to that 2 or 3 times. I was surprised. And the other thing I noticed in that post fight, everybody, I hear you, Sal, and myself, a lot of us, we talk about these guys who beat their chest nowadays and they claim they're ready for everyone. George Foreman, who really was a mean fighter, when we talk about mean fighters, George really was a mean fighter. People don't understand because George didn't go out there and scream and yell. He was a mean fighter. One of the most, actually, almost scary moments, George Foreman, when somebody asked him, I believe it was... I forget who it was at this point. Somebody said to him, George, what's going to happen when you lose? And George Foreman, he just got this deadpan face and looked at him. He said, lose? What are you talking about? And the reporter's going, and he actually stopped in the middle of it. He's like, well, maybe I better not insinuate this guy may lose again. But Foreman was so humble when they asked him if he was ready to fight Joe Frazier next. And George said, well, I don't really know if I am. He goes, I might be. I hope so. I want to get better. But, right now, I'm not going to call anybody out. I'm in line to face a champion. I had a pretty good performance tonight, but I'm not sure if I'm ready for that level. He was so humble and so down to earth, and we don't see that anymore. And I think a lot of these guys maybe should look at some of these fights back then and see what a killer George was and how humble he could also be as well. He did his talking in the ring, not outside.
Great.
You are so correct. And I don't know, Bill. Could I expand a little bit?
I got to take a break,
no?
guys. I know you both. I got to take a break. Dax, I appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you guys in a little bit. We'll be back in 2.
Billy C will be right back. Part of the Billy C Boxing Network.
Stop. Living with hair loss, that is. Losing your hair is no fun, and no one wants to be bald, but there is hope.
Getting my hair back was the best thing that ever happened to me.
I'm happy with the way I look now.
I'm very excited about my hair.
I feel beautiful.
I love my hair.
Hair Club offers all proven hair loss solutions backed by our commitment to satisfaction guarantee. If you're not 100% satisfied with the solution you choose, Hair Club will apply the purchase price to another proven hair loss solution or transplant more hair at no charge.
That was the best thing I've ever done.
It looks good on me.
Call in the next 5 minutes to get your free brochure at no obligation. It will tell you everything you need to know about your hair loss problem, and it's free if you call now.
I am more pleased than what I had even imagined.
I at least look, I would say, 5 years younger.
I'm 52, and I look better now than I did when I was in my 40s.
I feel great.
And that's not all. The first 100 people who call will also receive $250 off any hair loss solution from Hair Club. Call now.
Broken air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Don't let outrageous repair and replacement bills like these bust your budget. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or system breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you.
We had a high-end dishwasher go kaput. They put it in a brand new dishwasher.
We have plans that cover air conditioning, most appliances, plus heating, plumbing, electrical systems, and much more. Plans start as low as $25 a month. Why let a major appliance or system breakdown bust your budget or go through the hassle of finding trustworthy service people? Last year alone, we saved our customers over $120 million. Don't wait until something breaks and you're stuck with a huge bill.
You save a lot of money.
It's absolutely worth it.
If you don't have First American Warranty, get it.
Call 1-800-946-6234 for your free no-obligation quote.
This is important news for women using birth control medications and devices. If you or a loved one have been diagnosed with a pseudotumor after using one of these birth control drugs or devices, you may be eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Contact the law firm of Davis & Crump right now if you or a loved one have used one of these birth control medications or devices and were diagnosed with a pseudotumor to see if you are eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Call now. Operators are standing by.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you!
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. And I'm here with my man Sal. And what were you going to say about George Foreman, Sal?
George Foreman, when he came up, and a lot of our younger audience probably will not recall or haven't seen those clips, but yeah, he had a very dark persona. He wasn't a jubilant, lovable, huggable, big teddy bear George Foreman like he is today, doing grill commercials and everything else. I mean, he was a I don't want to say nasty.
He was,
but he had like a
no. He was a nasty son of a bitch.
I mean, he went in there He didn't pound his chest. He was humble, like Dax suggested. But he was nasty in the ring. He didn't like his opponents. He didn't like to do too much airtime on the press and everything else. Like I said, when Ali beat him, and I think it was devastating to have a loss like that from Muhammad Ali. And then he went on and he got defeated. What was it, Jimmy Ellis or Jimmy Young? One of them outboxed him and beat him too. And then he retired. I think he went like who was it? The went and found religion, found himself, and he came back 10 years later, maybe at the age of 40, just big, powerful, jubilant, happy George Foreman with no pressure, nothing else to prove, and just wanted to come back and enjoy the game of fighting the way some of us grow to appreciate it.
Yeah,
but no, when he first came up after the flag waving of him winning that gold medal in the Olympics, he was a pretty nasty guy or dark persona.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. He was a nasty guy, and people were afraid of him. There's no question about that. And the other thing too is you're right. When he lost to Jimmy Young, he went in that hiatus, and then when he came back, he had learned to be more of a showman, and that's when he was eating the cheeseburgers and he made all that money, and he kind of ripped the page out of Ali, and the success was there, no doubt. And, one last thing I want to mention, forget about George Foreman, but one thing I want to mention, I'm sorry, but there's no way that I'm going to buy into what Dax was saying about Demetrius Andrade. It is what it is. When the bell rings, you fight your style. It has nothing to do with who your promoter is, who your manager is, what kind of paychecks you're getting. This guy, if he gets a $100 million paycheck, he's still going to fight the way he fights, and that's the end of that. Unfortunately, it's not exciting. People aren't demanding to see him, even though he's an extremely talented fighter. That I do agree with Dax 100%. I love Demetrius Andrade. He's very fast. He's accurate. He just does not let his hands go. It's a habit that he's developed, and it's been too long. I also believe that he hasn't fought enough, and that is indicative of his poor choice in promoters. But anyway, we had a trivia question last week, and I'm actually going to give out the answer. I was going to, but when we lost power, I never was able to. So it came real close, and actually my man Coach came the closest. But the question was, what former pro boxer went to Hollywood and became one of the Keystone Cops? And the answer is Tom Kennedy. And Tom Kennedy was a fighter who actually didn't have a bad record. He was 5 wins and 3 losses in his pro day, in his professional, but he also fought during the newspaper decisions and beat some of the heavyweights of the time. He fought in the early 1900s like Al Pazner and Carl Morris and Frank Moran. Those were big names in the heavyweight division back then. Battling Levinsky, Bombardier Bobby Wells. We did a blast on him one time. But he went on to be successful as a Keystone Cop. So congratulations, Coach came close, but I didn't want to tease everyone on that. But I'm going to ask the question that nobody got again. And if you're the first one to email me the correct answer, you're going to win your very own copy of the Title Bout Championship computer game. This is a tough one, and it's I'm going to give some hints. Which boxer was a long-time sparring partner for one heavyweight champ, knocked him down, the sparring partner that he was in sparring, and then had a victory over another one-time heavyweight champion? Now, the hints I'm going to give you is this guy was the heavyweight champion that he sparred with was a heavyweight champion prior to 1970. He was a heavyweight champion prior to 1970. And I'll also make that he was an extremely well-known heavyweight. And the other heavyweight that was a one-time champion was also well-known but virtually forgotten today, and is definitely forgotten, and this is a big hint, in other weight classes that he dominated. So if you're the first one to email me the corrector, which boxer was a longtime sparring partner for one heavyweight champ, which he knocked him down in sparring, and then had a victory over another one-time heavyweight champion, you'll win your very own copy of the Title Bout Championship computer game. Email me the correct answer, Billy@TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com. This is a tough one, Sal.
Yeah, it is. I'm trying to think of before. I'd almost say it was Jerry Quarry, but maybe Jerry Quarry wasn't even. This was before 1970.
Well, Jerry Quarry fought before 1970, but he also fought well after it. But
yeah, he did.
But the other guy, the other hint was big. But let's stop it now. We don't want to give the answer.
Let's stop it now.
Because I know we got a very
for the ring.
I know we got a very smart boxing audience. For the most part, I'm sure they'll get it with all those hints. But anyway, on this day in boxing history, October 23rd. In 1999, Marcus Beyer wins a 12-round decision over Richie Woodall to win the WBC World Super Middleweight title, and that took place in England. On this day in 1962, Dick Tiger wins a 15-round decision over Gene Fullmer to win the World Middleweight title. It took place in San Francisco. Now, remember, Gene Fullmer, he had fought, prior to this fight, he had fought Benny Kid Paret. And obviously, Benny Kid Paret's, it's one of our revisited that Sal and I did. And Benny Kid Paret, and in his next fight, Gene Fullmer fought Emil Griffith and passed away after that fight. Gene Fullmer fought Dick Tiger 3 times in a row after his fight with Benny Kid Paret, and never was the same fighter after the Benny Kid Paret. That fight between Gene Fullmer and Benny Kid Paret changed both of those fighters forever. And wait till you guys watch it on the networks. AMG TV, I'll have you the schedule for satellite and terrestrial television coming up this week. So on this day in 1987, Sumbu Kalambe wins a Sumbu Kalambe wins a 12-round decision over Iran the Blade Barkley to win the vacant WBA World Middleweight title, and that took place in Italy. Talk about big middleweights. Iran was a monstrous middleweight. On this day in 1931, Lou Broliard wins a 15-round decision over young, not to be confused with old, young Jack Thompson to win the World Welterweight title. That took place in Boston. On this day in 1993, Junior Jones wins a 12-round decision over Eliseo Julio to win the WBA Bantamweight title. It took place in Atlantic City, New Jersey. And finally, on this day in 1890, George Little Chocolate Dixon knocks out Johnny Murphy in the 40th round to retain his World Featherweight title at the Gladstone Club in Providence, Rhode Island. Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, this is not like the bare-knuckle days when they fought 40 and 50 rounds when one round was determined by when the guy hit the canvas. This was 3-minute rounds. These guys fought for over 2 hours, 40 rounds. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
I was going to say it had to be when either they got dropped, that was the end of a round. But no, this is a 3-minute round times 40.
And not only that, but back in those times, when you went back to your corner to get water, they were in glass bottles, and they weren't very cold, especially some other fights that were outdoors.
That's over a 2-hour fight.
I know. That's over 2 hours of actual fighting. Unbelievable.
Fighting with the minute in between. It was a 2-hour and then forget about it. 2-hour, 40-minute fight.
Yeah, it's almost 3 hours of fight. Talk about the kids of today would have lost interest probably after the 15th. But anyway,
it was a 3-hour fight.
It definitely was. Hey, listen. Don't forget, this week's Blast from the Past is the one we didn't get a chance to do last week. Edwin Valario. I know he hasn't been gone that long, but it was a request. You tune in tomorrow morning. Same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, ciao, baby.